before we start this little conversation, look, this is really thankless work doing this, especially our grassroots leaders that just do this coming from their own values for their own reasons. Nobody's getting paid to do this, and there's people in this room that have spent hundreds of hours organizing their communities, and we want to recognize them. So our friends at Meow Wolf whipped up these little trophies for us. So I really want to honor Elaine Semino here. She's got a group called Common Ground Rising. She's been doing amazing work trying to handle the Sandoval County Commission. And I tell you, this is an insane job, but she's been there for us, and she's putting in a lot of good work, and we should all be talking to each other. Daniel Silva, in his community, he's doing amazing things, organizing people there for years. And Asha, too, thank you for that wonderful presentation. So, maybe first up we could get Elaine to just kind of fill us in with what's going on with Sandoval County and the commission and what she thinks we ought to know about, and we'll pass the mic around to a few voices that we haven't heard from real quick, and then if we want to keep talking, we can. So go ahead, please, Elaine. Sure, here. You can use the microphone.
Hello? Hello. Thank you very much. That was very kind. I want to thank you all for inviting me to speak here today. This is hard work. It's not easy. It's not easy because we're up against so much corruption at the state level and at the county level, and we all know what the federal level's doing. We're facing the same thing that the counselor chapter and the tri-chapter area. They are already facing the health impacts of fracking in a checkerboard area, and this is what 260,000 acres in Sandoval County will be opening up to fracking on private land. Now, we have heard what's happening on tribal allotment, on public lands and BLM lands, state lands, but this ordinance process that we're going through in Sandoval County is about our private property. And as we know, if you've seen any of the documentaries that are out there, Split Estate or Gasland or many of the others, we're going to start up Common Ground Rising. We started a nonprofit of citizens, grassroots groups of property owners, and what we're trying to do is the citizen science, just as the counselors in the tri-chapter area is doing. We are going to have to do that. We have to start bringing our baselines into this equation and into the issue that we're facing. In this ordinance, there are no protections. There's no protections for water, for air, for public health and safety. They would not allow us to put the public health information in. They would not allow doctors to come testify. So much of this has been pushed back, and it's pushed back because the governor is running the show. And the governor basically received $1 million in campaign contributions from oil and gas, and so did the chairman of the Sandoval County, received $20,000 to $30,000, probably more, for a local campaign to seat him where he is. All of our county commission, most of our county commission are Republican or Tea Party, and they are bought and sold by the oil and gas industry. So what I'm saying is that we don't have the political will in Sandoval County to give us the protections we need. And as a matter of fact, they even preempted during this whole process the National Historic Preservation Act under Chapter 106 that we pushed hard for tribal consultation. They now have preempted it. And what does that mean? That means that there were counties in Colorado that when they even asked for a moratorium, they were preempted. They were not allowed to do it. Now, we had a county in New Mexico, Mora County, that banned fracking, and that was overturned, and it set precedents. Now, it didn't set all the precedents that the county commission is stating that it did. But we don't have an attorney that is able to come forward and stick with us to fight this issue on appeal. We had some really serious issues in the county. They weren't recording our public record in public hearings. This is major. When you don't have, if you're having a public hearing, a law, and they're not recording this, then there's nothing to appeal. Because you only can appeal the record. And if there's no record, there's no appeal. And so we thank for Mike over here, video recording. We have those video that we have, but there's no official record. They are now creating minutes off of our record. And that... His name is Commissioner Don Chapman. He is the chair of the commission. Also, Commissioner Jay Block also received a donation from Western Refinery. All of this is on the state Secretary of State's website. And so where are we at now? On September 12th, on Tuesday, the Planning and Zoning Commission will hear residents from Placitas try to add some language into a 9-page document. 9 pages. The Santa Fe ordinance, Santa Fe County spent $1 million on their oil and gas ordinance, and they don't have any drilling. We asked them to apply the Santa Fe ordinance to Sandoval County to give us the protections, and they refused to do it. They said that if they did it, they would be sued by oil and gas. Well, Sandoval County didn't get sued. Santa Fe County didn't get sued, neither did San Miguel County. And so now I think it's just a straw man type of argument. They're going to push through what they want, and they're not going to, they haven't listened, they haven't allowed us the presentations, they refused to have our people come, our professionals, our scientists, our seismologists, our doctors, our hydrologists, all the people we've lined up to make these presentations. Instead, they've taken another group whose people are working in the oil and gas industry, and they're going to allow maybe some of that testimony into the record. So we have some of these issues at hand. As property owners, to protect our property values, to protect our water, to protect, and this is what many communities all over the country are trying to do. And so it led me to say, well, what's our next step? Do we appeal this decision? Do we repeal it? And Sandoval County is not a home rule county, so they're a Class A county. They could qualify as a Class H county if, in fact, they wanted to do a charter, and then we could have home rule. But that doesn't stop us in this issue, and it doesn't stop the fracking, and it doesn't give us the protections that we need. We asked for a safety plan, a safety response plan. They refused to give us that on the grounds of national security. We now have to go to court over that in order to get the safety response plan, and I think that is important because the tri-chapter area, they need that safety response plan. The rest of Sandoval County needs that safety response plan, and we need to go to court over it. But most importantly, how do we move our community forward? What are our alternatives? And part of that would be in the next couple years, after we get rid of this governor, that we move to ban fracking, but also include a moratorium that is inclusive of these pipelines, of these gas plants, and of this other infrastructure with the compressor stations. And so with that, that's just kind of a little wrap up. You can find more information about what we're doing. We have filed 4 complaints with the Attorney General's office, and we are waiting for the Attorney General to weigh in on this matter. The problem is that he usually takes 5 months for just a determination letter. We're hoping that this will go a little faster. We can see some progress being made with them stopping Mr. Commissioner Chapman from illegally making motions in the county to try to steamroll the ordinance forward without the proper publishing or notice or to the county or to the county residents to see what they're doing. So if you could want to find out more about this, you can go to www.commongroundrising.org, and there are little pieces of paper over there about where you can contact us and some of the issues for September 12th. And as we move on, we think that this ordinance will probably be adopted sometime the 1st of October. So we have a very bad ordinance. We do not have the protections. And a matter of fact, in this ordinance, water and aquifer is not even mentioned. So please help us. Please come to our website. Please become more involved. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Elaine.
All right. So
We got Eleanor Bravos over here. She really wants to speak with
Thank
us.
you.
And we also have Peter De Benedictis here, so we'd like to hear from him as well. So go ahead, Eleanor.
I'm Eleanor Bravo. I am the National Pipeline Campaign Manager for Food and Water Watch. I happen to live in Sandoval County. So we're in trouble, but I have some good news. First, I want to say something about FERC. Up until 2 weeks ago, they had no quorum. They have not been able to rubber stamp anything. They now have a quorum on September 20th in Washington, D.C. There will be a rally. All of our allies are going to get together because the appointees that are now forming the quorum in FERC are, again, rubber stampers. So our organization, working in huge coalition with Sierra Club and a lot of other large and small grassroots organizations, want FERC to be dismantled, and we want an independent organization. This is just more of the same stuff. So that's one little thing I wanted to say. I also would like to say the day before yesterday, Tulsi Gabbard, representative from Hawaii, introduced the Off Fossil Fuels Act, mandating 100% renewables by 2035. This is the first piece of legislation nationally to come out for this. So Everyone here can be involved on every level. There are so much to do on the local level. And listen, I have a domestic water well. I'm downstream from the potential fracking in Rio Rancho. We're scared, but we can't be paralyzed by this, because Food and Water Watch was the first organization to want a ban on fracking 10 years ago. We started the campaign in New York State, and as Asha said, in 2014, we want a ban. And Asha, we haven't stopped. We're getting ready to launch and to continue our campaign against fracking infrastructure, and compressor stations. Absolutely. I hope you're going to be going. So we have been working really, really hard, and there is work for everyone. And if you want to get involved on a national level, Food and Water Watch has a program called Off Fossil Fuels. You can volunteer with any one of our special volunteer teams. We use the digital tools that were used in the Bernie campaign. And on a gathering like this here, we have a national team that can text with our platform. We can text 500 people in 2 hours. You can do it from a computer. You don't have to have a cell. I'm not a good texter. I can't even do the thumbs. It's not like that. And we turn people out, and maybe you can help people in DC or Seattle, or they can help us. So if you've signed our petition, I know Lars right here, that's Lars Panara with Food and Water Watch. If you sign our petition, we'll hook you up. We also have a calling platform. So there is so much to do. And after we banned fracking in New York State, we banned fracking in the state of Maryland. And Florida should be next. We've banned fracking in Monterey County, California. And these bans, there are many, many different ways of opposing fracking. The ban in New York State was like an executive order. It was Governor Cuomo. If we get a new governor, he could turn that around. But in Maryland, it was legislated. It was voted on by the legislature. So there are many different ways. Here in New Mexico, in Mora County, it was a CELDEF ban. That's the Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund. It was based on that we all have inalienable rights to clean air and clean water. Well, you know what? So does Shell, and so does Chevron. They are people too under this Citizens United. So that is the legal precedent, and this CELDEF ban has been put forward in many other states. But there are now 3 documented places in the country, Pavilion, Wyoming, Dimmock, Pennsylvania, and Parker County, Texas, where it's proven that fracking, not injection wells, fracking has polluted aquifers. The EPA, under Obama, whom, listen, I miss him, but he wasn't the greatest president for the environment. Those investigations were shut down. But we have the science now that we didn't have 10 years ago. And it is no longer an economic issue. It's not a scientific issue. It's a political issue. So we have a pledge, and I know we have a candidate here today, and we have a pledge. So if each and every one of you will go to your city councilor, your dog catcher, your county commissioner, get them to sign a pledge saying, I will never vote for any legislation that promotes the extraction of fossil fuels. In this country, we will then have a bench of progressive lawmakers, and they will be on the record. And we've already collected hundreds of these, and we can hook you up with that. We'll give you a copy of the pledge. We will train you on video how to visit your elected official. Take friends with you. It's a lot of fun. And I am one of the people who are working for the environment who gets paid for it. But we get about 10 cents an hour. We do this because this is what we feel compelled to do. And my home is incredibly threatened, and we can't let happen to us what has happened to Asha and her family. This has got to stop, and there are ways that we can do it. And you can do it easily because now we have digital tools, and we have a lot of other opportunities on every single level. So I want to say one more thing, and then I'm going to turn over to whoever. I want to tell you what's happening with the Keystone XL pipeline. There is one place where we can stop that pipeline, and we can still stop it because they've lost a lot of their funding, and that's in Nebraska. It has one more permit, and it needs to be permitted through the state of Nebraska. They've had their hearings, they've had their public comment. They have up until December to decide. They would still listen if you were to contact the state of Nebraska and their commission and say, we do not want the Keystone XL. And in regards to Standing Rock, we are working really closely with the Indigenous Environmental Network and the other Native communities who had brought the suit, which has now ordered an environmental impact statement, but they did not order an injunction, and that means crude is still flowing. So that is what is now in the courts. So the environmental impact statement is going to go forward for Dakota Access Pipeline, but they don't know what's going to happen, and so we're still fighting with that. There is another there are pipelines everywhere. There are really the bad pipeline that goes across Big Bend, Texas. It's built, it's permitted, it's through, and it's flowing, and it's from Texas to Mexico, so Mexico can sell our frack gas to China. So the oil and gas industry knows that we are going to go to renewables by 10 years, and they're scrambling to scrape every drop, every bit of oil out of our land, and they're going to be the only ones making money. But you can do something, and if everyone here gets 5 friends, and these are things that you can do easily and simply that are very, very effective. Because people say, oh, I'm signing a petition. Will it help? Believe me, when I go in to talk to a senator or representative and I bring 10,000 signatures of people who are in their district, they listen. Because if they don't do what we want them to do, we will vote them out.
All right. Thank you, Eleanor. We're gonna need your help. And here we go. Peter, are you ready to be the anti-fracking candidate? Let's find out.
Thank you. I need to say I am humbled by all the work that you and everybody here are doing, and I just gotta say thank you for carrying that fight. Thank you so much. So Peter D's my name, Peter D. Benedictus. I mainly came here to learn today, to tell you that the stories you're hearing about health and about our environment, you're not alone in this. When I work with people in education and why our kids are so behind in this state, they run against the same lobbyists, get the same results. You know how poor we are. We run against the same lobbyists, we get the same results. The same thing for our health care. That's why, whether or not you look at me as somebody that can make a difference, look at progressive candidates. In the progressive movement, we've been in silos. The environmental people here, the health people here, the education people here, the civil rights people, the poverty people, we've been in silos. And that's why we always lose. So I'm asking you to look around, support the other progressives, because you'll network them, just like you're saying about all the people in the different states. But what happens when you start going to the other meetings for other progressive issues? Then they're there with you. Start looking at the candidates, and most of all, follow the money. Follow the money. I mean, seriously, I'm on the campaign trail and everybody's smiling. We're gonna have all this renewable energy and stuff, and then they take money from polluters and they act like it doesn't matter. I just wanna say, I'm in awe for what you're doing, and I really wanna encourage you to network. And oh, by the way, give me the pledge to sign before I leave today, okay? Thank you.
All right. Daniel, do you want to add anything to this conversation? Oh, you already got a mic. You're ready.
Yad say Daniel Soinchia. Sandra Kimmensle. Oh, Nanistaj Kachini, Basichin, Especially the Chedo, Nahapani, the Sanale. Hotel A, tenensle. So what I'm expressing is what we're taught, just like Kendra introduced. Your mom's clan, your father's clan, your mom's dad, and your dad's mom's clan. We're matrilineal. Very young, we grew up in a dirt floor hogan. And a lot of the stories, one of the older relatives, you take care of your mom. After my dad had passed away, they came and talked to, I'm the youngest of 5 boys, and you take care of your mom. But someday, this mom's not going to be your mom. This is going to be your mom. This is going to be your mom. This mom provides everything. Water, food, air. And so that's ingrained. So as my mother, Ms. Teller, what she said, that responsibility, we ate with that, those words, we ate it. We ate with the food, we ate with the words, and now it's part of the DNA. So that's what we're doing. Speaking out for somebody that can't speak. And so, again, a lot of it, Sam, Kendra, we bring information to the community to try to translate the concepts to where it's understandable. And it's been hard. But the foremost premise was, okay, as Navajo people, our sphere of information, knowledge is small. So we have to reach out, bring the information back, make our sphere of knowledge and information bigger, and the sphere of influence. And that's where we reached out to Sierra Club, Food and Water Watch, Wild Earth Guardians, and they responded. What do you need? What do you need? Well, we had already passed resolutions in the 3 chapters requesting our New Mexico congressional delegation to have the BLM impose a moratorium, to have them do an EIS, to conduct baseline water tests, soil tests, air samples, fund an HIA for us. None of that came. And we have to repeat. But guess what? Sierra Club, both the Rio Grande chapter and the national organization, Wild Earth Guardians, didn't care, and Max and Anna Levinson Foundation, they came through, got us funded. And we did the monitoring, we did the initial HIR, Health Impact Report, and now we're elevating to request the Navajo Nation's IRB, Institutional Review Board, to let us do the health impact assessment. And we'll be going before them in the month of October. But other allies are starting to come forward. And so that really helps. San Juan Health Equity Partners, Grand Canyon Trust, Rainforest Action Network, and individuals. I conduct if you read the story, New Mexico Story Power, where that picture comes from, Asha, Delaney, and Maya. And certain at Mark, they've all come on this reality tour. All the members of Wild Earth Guardians went on the tour. Of course, Lena Moffett and her mom went on the tour. Lena's mom named it Fracking Reality Tour. So when she suggested that, I says, does that mean you're a child of the 60s? And she says, yes. Well, tell me the story. I won't tell you the story. But anyway, that's how we've gotten the allies. We've gotten newspaper people, photographers to come. We were this far from getting New York Times to come out, this far from getting the Washington Post to come out. But they're all just waiting. And we've made connections nationally out of Pennsylvania, Pavilion. John Fenton says, hey, Chief, just tell us when you want us there. We'll be there. And so we haven't decided when, but it's not going to be a direct action. It's going to be more of a summit. A summit. We brought down people from Alberta, Canada. We brought Candy Mossett from North Dakota. They did their PowerPoint in front of the community people, and within 2 weeks, the people themselves says, hey, when are we going to meet again? And at that time, they'd said, give us a plan. What's your plan? What shall we do next? And so that's where we started on this health impact report. So that's basically something that, we picked up bits and pieces. I didn't grow up to be what's called an activist. I was just generally radical. I was just generally militant. And so now, I guess this is something that really needs to get done. Sam's been in it the longest, and he's our pillar in the community. He's probably been in it since the year 2000. And we're new recruits to help him. It's a team effort. We don't have a committee that has a chairman, a vice chairman, a secretary, nothing. We're all the same size, and we all have a voice on how we're going to go forward. And part of it is, when we went to the state legislature, they says, hey, there's no map that says Greater Chaco. Where did you get that name? We made the name. We made the name. Because the moment you say that's a sacred site, then they encroach closer. And our definition of the Greater Chaco is the whole landscape. The whole landscape. Well, tell us where your sacred places are. No. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to start digging up them bones, them artifacts. It's them that put a value on those artifacts. And that's one of the reasons that we're very, very careful about. Other folks probably have done it, and that's how come there's those sacred sites pictures on the maps. And so we've been very careful not to do that. And even now, people come up, well, if we can't make the road over there, you know, show us that significant cultural property over there. We can keep it to ourselves. So that's where we're at. One of the, I guess, best aspects is we elected Representative Derek Linty. And he's the one that's been a pretty good voice. So in Navajo way, he just says, you remind me of my grandpa. Okay, grandson, you're my grandson then. So that's how we refer to each other. But the messages come. You got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And I don't question where those thoughts and the Hatatis, they say, hey, it's the spirits out there that gives you these ideas. They're the ones that tell you to go to Washington, D.C., to go to the state legislature, to go do this and that. Those folks are wanting to be in a tranquil place, in a safe place. So that's how we've proceeded. And again, the directions come from the Hatatis, the ones that have the medicine bundles, the ones that hold the corn pollen bag, that can hold the arrowhead. In our most recent talk, okay, Daniel, what is it you want? Do you want to do it with peace, peaceful movement? Do you want to continue your radical aspects and do direct action, be confrontational, and which one do you want? That way, me and my cousin, we can put words out there to the Mother Earth, to the Father Sky, to the many spirits, as Verna Teller says. We can compose where your people are also protected. And it's, so I take that direction. So I can't say, go do this, go do this. I have to listen, I have to listen. I gotta walk the land, touch Mother Earth. Listen, listen. But the movement goes on, the work goes on, we'll still be there. Again, it's the older folks. When all of this is all said and done, we'll still be here. All those compressors, fixtures, they'll be rotted and rusted, but we'll still be here. That's our indigenous homeland. So, and basically that's why from time immemorial we were placed there, land between the sacred mountains.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
All right. Stick around. There's plenty of food. I hope you guys will just hang out, eat, and talk. And I'm sure for every person here, there's probably at least one other person that you should really get to know. So thanks again, everybody, for coming. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.